Are there any restrictions as to where the money can be spent?
Where it can be spent?
Yeah, we have different lava zones on the island, and so
Yeah.
rumors going around that money can't be spent in lava zone 1 and 2. And so just looking for clarity around that.
Yeah, it's kind of two different questions. You have eligible areas, which is most impacted and distressed. And I understand the whole county has been designated most impacted and distressed. So from that level, that could be spent anywhere in the county. But there are areas where where HUD, it's like the nearest example is a flood zone. HUD doesn't allow you to use HUD funds to rebuild in a floodplain, in a 100-year floodplain, unless you elevate it. And we generally discourage people from rebuilding in a flood zone. But if you really have to, you have to elevate it. That doesn't fly with volcanoes, right? So if there's an area where you can expect these inundation zones, then you're not going to be able to spend HUD funds in that area.
To restore, but to upgrade.
Talking about house or
Infrastructure.
Infrastructure, maybe a road, but not residential. Yeah, go ahead. He's got more experience with this volcanoes.
I'm Mark Chandler, the Community Planning Development Director for the HUD Honolulu Field Office. So HUD does have a lava flow policy. So it's based on zones. So zones 1 and 2 are not eligible for housing work. We did go back and double check as a result of this incident on whether or not certain infrastructure work could be done, because people don't live in the infrastructure. The issue is where are people living, right? And if you're living in a lava flow 1 or 2 zone, it's not an eligible area to build a house for HUD's purposes. Obviously, the county has been allowing constructions in 1 and 2, but sorry, no HUD monies in that area. As it applies to the road or a public facility, for example, we have actually helped with some of your firehouses in some of those lava flow areas in the past with our regular CDBG money. So that's a public facility. People don't live in it. And so that's where it would be eligible. Other than that, if you're looking for housing, it's not eligible.
Housing's not eligible. Infrastructure, maybe. What about a boat ramp?
If that boat ramp is a public facility,
Yes.
Then it's possible.
Even
Now,
if it's in
it'll be
lava
up
zone
to
1.
the DR side of things as it applies to determining finally whether that particular activity will meet their requirements. But as it applies to just use of our restrictions regarding lava flows 1 and 2, if that's defined as a public facility, then it's possible.
Lava Zone 2 extends all the way to South Kona. The fact that the qualification for the funds is an island-wide one, the housing would not apply to half this island.
Lava flow 1 and 2 has been implemented since 1974
Right.
for the purposes of HUD programs being restricted. And you have been able to assist the island with many housing programs over the years, just you haven't ever assisted in lava flows 1 and 2.
And that has been a real ongoing problem, because when you're talking about insurance, and if you don't have insurance, then possibly the disaster relief fund can step in. But in Lava Zone 1 and 2, I mean, South Kona is like almost 100 miles away from ground zero. And people in Lava Zone 2 have an extreme hardship in getting insurance, homeowners insurance, and the like. And it's because they've been designated in that zone, Lava Zone 2. So who designates these zones, the zone areas? Because I think the last time there was a lava flow was in the 3 flows in South Kona in the 50s, right? So is there any possibility of redesignating the zones to be more realistic as far as Lava Zone 1? Yeah, I can see that. It's right. Who would?
And so maybe to
How
help you
does
on
that
this,
work?
when Mayor Kim was mayor the last term, when he was serving mayor last time, he came in and asked for an allowance to build in lava flow 2 areas. Our response from our Secretary of HUD at the time, still would be now, is that no, and if you want to change the lava flow zone areas, go back to USGS, because they're the ones that actually do all the work and figure out where these lava areas are going to flow. And so we did tell Mayor last time, said, hey, we're more than willing to reconsider, but you got to go do the work with USGS to get the lava flow maps redrawn. And at the time, the county did not elect to go back to USGS to draw the maps. And I can tell you that maybe now with what the incident occurred, maybe it was good the mayor didn't go back and ask USGS to rewrite the maps. You know.
So
But
it's
clearly he can go to USGS and work with them. And I don't know how long the USGS's process is to rewrite lava flow maps, but that would be a call on theirs. I can tell you the policy itself is a joint agreement between USGS and our Office of Secretary through HUD.
And so the lines were drawn based on a USGS mapping, or I understood that it was taken basically from a district, from an established zones already, no?
No, we didn't establish. It is purely based on what USGS tells us. We are not the specialists in where lava is going to flow, and we rely on the scientists to do that.
Is there any possibility of them revisiting, like you said, the mayor it has to be generated by the administration, to revisit a mapping that was been done more than 30, 40 years ago?
Yeah, mayor could go back to USGS and ask them to revisit their mapping, and then once it's, if they do remap it, then clearly you can bring that back via USGS, and the county would tell us, and there'll probably be another MOU or some kind of agreement signed between USGS and HUD.
I see. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
John Olson from Puna. Just an FYI, Don Swanson published an update in 2015 on the eruptive activity of Kilauea over the last 3,000 years definitively by chemistry, and going back 15,000 years more generally. So there is more updated data laying out there if you want to find it. I haven't actually had a chance to talk to him about it yet, but beyond that, everybody sitting here knows how we got to where we are in terms of the infrastructure that is in hazard zones 1 and 2. The fact that we haven't come up with a plan to allow people who were not informed to withdraw from the area has always been a bone of contention, certainly with me. As you all know, I chaired the Puna CDP, the one that is standing at the moment. I'm very familiar with the area and the problem with it. The fact that the monies need to be spent in a way that benefits the people who are there and allows them to withdraw if they choose to. I'm not here speaking for myself. My house went. But I was informed. I knew the dog I bought. I knew what the crack in the backyard meant. I'd gone up and listened to Don Swanson's lectures. I can't say the rest is true for my neighbors. They were not informed, and we all know how that came about. That it wasn't put on your deed at the time that you are in a hazard zone. No one knew. The mass majority of the people who bought 20 years or more ago were uninformed. So we have an obligation to right that wrong. We have an opportunity here to do that. And I'm looking forward to working with you to make that happen. If there's any other thing I would like to have some input on is we have the historical town of Pahoa, which is in Lava Zone 2. And to maintain that and make some improvements, for the economy there. Going forward, we need to find a way to do that. Not sink a whole lot of money in it, but while we have it, to preserve it, and it is an economic boon, and get working, as is in the CDP, on a new economic zone for that area, which is basically the new Pahoa, which is on the other side of the line. And to that end, go look at our new shopping center. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Olson.